What is going on, everybody? Eagle fans, Jag fans everywhere. Hey, this is your boy JC coming back with another episode. Of course, trying to break down Jags versus Eagles tomorrow. This is it. This is it. It's finally here. And who would have thought week 4 we would be talking about how big of a game this is between Jags versus Eagles? But I brought somebody special in here to help me break this game down. Without further ado, what is going on, Lori Fitzpatrick? What's up?
Hey man, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on the show. This is my favorite week in all of the NFL. I'm born and raised in South Jersey. My whole entire family are diehard Eagles fans. My mom and I have been getting into it all week. So it's been crazy. Just to go along with what you were saying when we first started the show, man. I can admit that I was wrong. I was wrong about the Jaguars. I thought that they were going to take a year to kind of get it together. And man, Doug Peterson really he's getting the best out of all of his players right now. It's kind of crazy.
Man, and it's crazy because I think somebody asked him, either the Philly reporter asked him, compared to when he took over as the Eagles head coach, how far along, like, is this Jaguar roster better than it was compared to when he started coaching in Philly? He said
Wow,
it's
someone
ahead
asked
of
him that?
that. Yes, he said that the
Wow.
Jag roster are ahead of where the Eagles was, and the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl their second year. But this is Doug Peterson first year, you know, at Jacksonville. So who knows? I mean, with all this first round talent that y'all have on the Jags, quarterback, linebackers, defensive. I mean, y'all are loaded with first round draft picks, and all y'all needed was a competent head coach. And I believe that Doug Peterson, is one. But before we get into Doug Peterson, real quick, the last injury report I have for the Philadelphia Eagles from yesterday, Boston Scott and Avonte Maddox is officially ruled out for this game tomorrow, which is a big blow for the Philadelphia Eagles, especially Avonte Maddox, one of the better slot corners we have in the NFL. He's not going to be playing. I don't know who's going to be replacing him yet, but we do have a couple options. Josiah Scott is one, or maybe we could bring down, CD Deuce, Chauncey Gardner, one of the best nickel, slot corners from the Saints, but we picked them up right before the season started. But do you want to cripple two positions at the same time? He's one of our best safety right now. Him and Marcus Epps are playing lights out. So do you want to bring him from the safety position down to his natural position and try to put Kevon Wallace back there at safety? I don't know. I would just install Josiah Scott back in the slot position and just keep everything the way it is. As far as the Jags, I mean, is there any major injuries that could affect this game tomorrow that you like, yeah, man, we should have had him?
Right now, no. For the first couple of weeks of the season, it's been it's been pretty light in terms of the injury report. I think Zay Jones, one of the wide receivers, he had a little bit of a
Uh,
hamstring issue. But that was really like the only thing. Um, there was I believe Shaq Griffin. He was out last week. I'm not sure what that injury was, but Trey Herndon came in to the corner position. He did pretty well. So yeah, it's right now the Jaguars injury report is looking pretty light.
well, that's good. So both teams are going into this game like really healthy. So there's no excuses. Tomorrow, 2-1 versus 3-0. I mean, the battle of two good teams. Who would have thought in week 4, like I said earlier, that we'll be talking about how big this game will be tomorrow. So now let's get into the Doug Peterson that we started talking about. How big of a hire this was for the Jags coming from Urban Meyer with all the stuff, that happened with the Jags to go to slow key guy and Doug Peterson. The same way the Eagles kind of hired him, which wasn't their first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth option, by the way. He was the last option for the Philadelphia Eagles. He was like, you know what? Hey, just, hey, let's hire Doug Peterson from the Andy Reid coaching tree. So let's just hire him. And then boom, 2 years in, won the franchise first ever Super Bowl. So how big of a hire this was for the Jags?
Yeah, when it first happened, I was super excited. And maybe because, I knew all about Doug Peterson. So maybe I had a little bit of bias, but I knew how good of a coach that he was. There were some people, some fans that were really upset because, it came out that uh, Brian Leftwich was supposed to be the head coach, who's calling plays
Mm-hmm.
for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he was obviously doing really well with Tom Brady. But there was a lot in question. Like, it's Tom Brady. Like, how much does he need a coach? Like,
Yeah.
how good is Brian? Like, or Byron? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So it's
Byron.
just like, come on, But when they hired Doug Peterson, I thought it was fantastic, and there were some similarities when it comes to the 2016 Eagles team versus the Jaguar team now. And we were just talking about this before the show, like the difference in the teams that Doug Peterson is coming into from when he was with the Eagles, from when he's now, or from
Mm-hmm.
now when he's with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I was on a podcast last week, and this guy was saying, "Oh, well, it's similar to the Carson Wentz situation. He's just a brand new quarterback getting it started." Like, I don't think it's the same situation at all. To be honest, I think he has a lot more with Trevor than what he had with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, obviously, he was a first year quarterback coming in. Trevor Lawrence already has film on him. Already
Yep.
throughout all the teams, they kind of know the style of play. They know how to shut him down. But obviously, that actually is better for Peterson because he knows what defenses are looking for, how they're going to shut him down, and he's really good at adjusting. I remember when they played, I think it was the Saints in that Super Bowl run, and the Saints players, the defenders were like, "Man, they're scheming us. They're scheming us." It's because Doug Peterson knows what to call, what to counter. He makes adjustments at halftime, and it's just such a breath of fresh air coming from Urban Meyer. Like you were saying, he's such he's used to coaching boys, and it's kind of funny because so was Tom Coughlin, and he was the Jaguars' very first head coach, and then he came back in during that 2017 time
Mm-hmm.
when, like, oh, we're gonna bring him in as like like pretty much like a personnel person who can kind of just be around the team, and he was the one that blew up the entire 2017 team. He was the reason for them leaving, like Jalen Ramsey, Yannick Ngakwe, like all those guys are now
Yeah.
gone because of these like headstrong coaches that think that they know everything, and then it comes to bite them in the ass. So twice they've had to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Coughlin and Urban Meyer, and finally they have a coach, a players coach that can
Absolutely.
understand and really resonate with the players. And on top of that, he's one hell of a play caller, man. It's just like it's really a breath of fresh air, and I think it's just something that the fans finally needed, the team needed, the owner just needed to find someone that can bring in the win. So honestly, like all in all, I'm just happy that the Jaguars found their guy, and of course, it's Doug Peterson. So
Look, I'm happy for y'all. Like, I mean, when Doug Pearson left Philly, I mean, I was kind of disappointed. I'm like, how you like this dude brought you
yeah,
your only franchise Super Bowl ever. You was accepted since 1933, I believe. So that's a long time.
it is a
Like you've
long
been
time.
around and never won a Super Bowl, not a championship. Yes, NFL championships. The Philadelphia Eagles, I believe, had three of them, but a Super Bowl zero. So yes, we've been in one in 2004, but Doug Pearson was able to get us over the hump. I would have thought that anybody that brings the franchise their first Super Bowl would have a little bit of leadway, a longer leash than like somebody that haven't won anything, like that's been around. Like
Yeah.
man,
The Eagles though, that Eagles franchise, man, like they don't.
I,
That's why there's always something where it's like they let a guy go and then he flourishes somewhere else, and you're like, dang, like of course that happens, because y'all expect greatness, really, and if
from
there's
day
a slip
one.
up, yeah, there's a zero tolerance policy, And it's like you're now benching our star quarterback Jalen Hurts, like with 2 games left in the season or whatever, 1 game left. Like in the end, did it really matter? Like in the end, it was the best move because
Yeah.
y'all had a better draft pick, and so it was like
Devontae
he was
Smith came
actually
out of that.
yeah. So it was like come on. And I'm sure Peterson felt a little salty, a little bit, but
Absolutely.
there's more love than there is saltiness.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it was like, dang, that zero tolerance, Eagles franchise, Howie Roseman ain't playing type of deal is crazy down there.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a difference because I did look. I had Dunn and Drew on yesterday, and I asked
Yeah,
them
great
this.
guys, man.
Yeah, how much power does Doug Peterson have overall control on the Jacksonville Jaguar roster and the coaching? Because that was a big issue with Philly also, that he wanted control over his head coaches. He wanted to bring, coaches that yes, the previous season wasn't a good, a good stats wise, didn't have success, but he wanted to bring them back, but Howie Roseman, the owner kind of stepped in and say, no, 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 we want these coaches gone, this and that. I mean, after he won the Super Bowl, look, remember now, like it's not easy to win a Super Bowl. There's some teams that been to the Super Bowl will probably never go back to the Super Bowl, but he actually, wanted more control, over the players, over the coaching staff. So how much control does he have right now in the Jags organization?
Yeah, I'm hoping Dunn and Drew says the same thing as me, and that's a lot. As a Super Bowl winning head coach, you know, guys in the front office, they're going to listen to you. And that's exactly what is happening because you pretty much go through the trial and error as a coach as the weeks go on. You make adjustments, you
Yeah.
make changes, and they're really giving him the opportunity and to say to do, hey, you do what you feel is best. And there was a little bit in the beginning. I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking like this is not going to work out with Trent Baalke. The GM. It just seems like
Yeah.
it's his way or the highway. It seemed like he was the one that threw Urban Meyer under the bus, which was rightfully so. But
Hey.
you know,
Yes.
he was in Ian Rappaport's back pocket, and everything that was happening on the news, it was like he was leaking all the info. When it's like, so when Doug Peterson maybe makes a move or undermines him, is he going to do the same thing to Doug? And that's where it's like it was a little like, okay, if we start out losing, this isn't going to be good for Doug, man, because Trent, as the fan base, they had clowns as their avies. Like they didn't mess around with Trent. They really wanted him out of there. So as of right now, it's everything is going pretty smooth. And,
Roses and
yeah,
flowers and
I'm not in the
butterflies.
I'm not in the organization as much as Dunn and Drew though. They are,
Yeah.
if y'all didn't catch that episode, make sure you go back and watch that one because I'm sure they threw a lot of tidbits in there. Because they're they know a lot about the organization. They're down there in Jacksonville. I'm in Miami, so I'm a little bit taken out. But at the same time, I know that they are listening to their Super Bowl winning head coach more than their GM right now, which is good. Hopefully, the GM just gives tidbits on maybe, okay, this guy is good in the draft,
Hmm.
and that's why they're hitting on the draft because of what Trent Baalke did provide. So I think
Yeah.
it's a good combo. It's a good balance right now.
Yeah, overall, that was the perfect fit, the perfect landing spot for Doug Peterson. He loves young quarterbacks, but the whole difference between Carson Wentz and Trevor Lawrence. But Carson Wentz thought he was so gifted that
Yeah,
he was beyond coaching, that he wanted to do a lot of things by himself because he was so talented. Big guy. He's able to run out the pocket. He's able to
yeah,
make
from North
all the
Dakota,
kind of
right?
throws. Yeah, from North Dakota, right? You know what I mean? And we mortgaged the future for him, by the way, to move up to number 2 at that time. So he thought, hey, he was beyond coaching. That's why we was able to win the Super Bowl with a backup quarterback and Nick Foles because he was able to listen to Doug Peterson and Frank Wright, at the time and just go with what we are teaching you and telling you. Trust us that it's going to be there. And that's what I'm seeing from the Jags right now, that Trevor Lawrence, especially coming from this, this infested, coach from last year, and Urban Meyer to Doug Peterson, he wants to be good. You know what I mean? Like he's used to winning,
Yeah.
So he wanted to go to Jacksonville and to win. So he didn't want to go to
Yeah.
Jacksonville and lose. So a perfect situation for Dougie P. Any last words before we move on?
Yeah, I think that there has always been a little bit of a like a I don't know what the word is, like a synonym in a way where like the two teams are kind of traveling on the same like path in a way. They're kind of parallel,
Absolutely.
and it kind of goes like before there was Urban Meyer, with the Eagles it was Chip Kelly, and it was like, dang, like this we got to get this college coach out of there, and it seemed like they're always kind of traveling on the same path. And I know y'all maybe don't want to believe it, like the Eagles are definitely like a better franchise in terms of winning percentage. They're obviously better in that aspect.
Mhm.
But in terms of just like how the franchises happen to be running in the same exact timeline is fantastic. Like people say, oh, 2017 they won the Super Bowl, and now like they're back in being at the top, and it's like the Jaguars were right there too. They
They
lost
are.
to the Patriots. And some like everybody says it was the refs that
That
pretty much
same
lost
year, right? The
the
same year the
same year.
Eagles
Yeah,
and the Jags was,
they could
in
have
the
played
playoffs.
together.
They could have. And
Yeah.
now we're back together again. So you
So
are absolutely correct. Yeah, that same year, I forgot that Blake Bortles was, I mean, he had
yeah,
a lead, but that's Tom Brady, man. One
yeah,
bad
definitely.
throw, one bad throw. Yeah, I remember watching the AFC divisional game. I was like, come on, just make the catch. Just slightly overthrown, and
Yeah,
boom, the Patriots was back in the Super Bowl somewhere in there. But yeah, you absolutely correct. These teams are, man. I mean, is it the coaching? Is it the GM? But whatever it is, they are set for years to come. Nick Sirianni, he came after Doug Peterson, another player's coach. He's not headstrong over anything. He's a coach's son himself, so he waited his whole life to be a head coach, to be a play caller. But one thing that I love about Nick Sirianni, last year things wasn't working. He was a rookie head coach. He said, "Look, you know what? I'm going to take a step back. I'm
hmm
going to give up play calling to Shane Steichen, and I'm going to just oversee, the offense, the defense, just make sure that I know exactly what's going on." And the Eagles
hmm
took off. And this year, instead of saying, "Yo, we went out, got AJ Brown with all these little shiny toys," instead of him saying, "Give me my playbook back, I'm calling plays again," he said, "Nope, I'm good. It was working last year. Let's keep it going this year." He's not calling plays again this year. Shane Steichen continues to call plays, and Nick Sirianni continues to be the head, and just making sure that this team move in the right direction. So both teams, to me, are on a collision course. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe is this year, maybe next year, maybe in the Super Bowl somewhere down the line. That would be fantastic.
I have your that play caller winning assistant to the head coach of the year or assistant coach of the year or whatever. Yeah, I have him winning that. So, and it's because of his play calling that they ended the year well last year with him calling plays, and I was like, yo, this year he's about to take off. So I'm happy I
Yes,
was kind of
sir.
right about that.
Yes, you were. So quickly, what was your expectation for the Jags coming into the season? Has it changed a little bit?
Oh, it's changed. I've done a 180, bro. I can say that I was wrong. I was 100% wrong. I said, okay, they're going to have like 6 wins. Like that would be fantastic if they get 6 because it's
Yeah.
like, a new head coach. It takes a year to kind of get going. I was wrong. I was flat out wrong. And I can admit that. So yeah, it's definitely changed. I think Peterson coming in and using Trevor the way that he needs to be used, and then getting those pieces in the offseason really helped. Like I think I there is still a part of me that believes that they still need a true X wide receiver. Like Christian
Yeah.
Kirk, he's fantastic in the slot. Zay Jones has been awesome. Like he can catch. They really needed to get guys that could catch because they led the league, I think, in drops last year. So they really just needed to revamp that whole wide receiver core. So there is a little bit of part of me that's saying, hey, they need that X receiver. And I think this week is going to be a huge, it's going to tell us a lot about the offense because yeah, the Eagles have a corner that's hurt right now, or the safety, or yeah,
Avante
it's the
Maddox,
Maddox.
our slot
So it's
corner.
it's the nickel, yeah.
Yeah.
And Christian Kirk is really good in the slot. So it's like, who are they gonna bring down? That could be actually a bigger factor than what some Eagle fans may think. Like it could be bigger because that's the best receiver that the Jaguars got right now.
Agree.
So Marvin Jones is a good possession receiver. He's more of that like Alshon Jeffrey type of receiver that you guys had. So he's not gonna like blow you away. He's not gonna outrun a ton of guys, but he's gonna make those catches. He's gonna take those hits. He may not be running over across the middle, but he's a good anchor for that offense. So I think it's gonna be important. I think this game is gonna be important to see. Hey, do they really need that X receiver? Who's gonna step up if they focus on shutting down Christian Kirk?
Yeah, I mean, look, I really think that what we definitely gonna get into it. Let me see. Matter of fact, shoot, let's talk about it right now. The Jags offense to me, like shutting down two guys to me, two guys. James Robinson, of course, the running game, and Christian Kirk. If you could shut those two guys down or kind of minimize their damage, I think you will have a chance to basically have control of this game. Like, because I
Yeah.
believe that Christian Kirk, he is the slot a wide receiver, but I heard he is being used like a Kurt Samuel, in a backfield type, reverses, with this quick screen, with the little gadget plays. I mean, so how is this Jaguar offense is being used like
Yeah, like the
Christian
scheme
Kirk and
wise.
all? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, he's been taking some snaps at the backfield. Like he'll do some jet sweep, like some motion jet sweep type of things, but that's really just to get the defense moving. There was a play last week where they ran a wildcat. Actually, ETN
Hmm.
took the snap. He had Robinson actually hanging off the line of scrimmage as like a wing, like usually where a tight end would line up. And then they had a Agnew behind him, and I think
Hmm.
Christian Kirk was to his left, and they had Trevor Lawrence lined out wide. And
That's a
then
lot.
they had like both wide receivers running an opposite in the flat, right? And so you can either how Doug Peterson likes to do that double screen, and then
Yeah.
he'll throw it to the tight end running up the seam route. Well, basically instead of that, they just had ETN take the snap directly, fake a little like I'm gonna toss it out to the side, and he just took it right up the gut. So they really did that though when they were already up by like 14, I think it was.
Hmm.
Um Agnew would be more of the guy, Jamal Agnew. He's actually from the Lions. He's like he's the Jaguars made returner. But he'll line up as a wide receiver too cuz he's got a lot of speed. Right? So he's the one that's majority taking those like those jet sweeps. Christian
Hmm.
Kirk will just mainly do like the motions and stuff. He likes running the mesh, like the shallow crossers. I wouldn't say that would be like a huge focus in terms of like running the ball. Of course, I say that now, and then let's just say tomorrow he just takes like 10 snaps, so that would be funny. But from what we've seen so far, I don't see him taking a ton of snaps like out in the backfield. I think they'll want to get ETN kind of going a little bit more,
Hmm.
taking that role. But this is technically his rookie year because he only played one game and then he suffered a season-ending injury. So I think he's still kind of he's going to take a little bit to get going. But yeah, so there is that little bit of you should kind of watch out for that, but I don't think that'll be a huge factor. It's more about the deception, and Doug, you
And that
can't win.
works.
Yeah,
And that works. Deception is everything. The pre-snap. movement is crazy. Like
Yeah.
one, it helps the quarterback read what is the defense doing. Like where am I going to go? Like where's this safety going? Where is linebacker now? Who's following who? So the pre-step motion are crazy. But what is the scariest thing on this Jaguars offense? If you are Jonathan Gannon, or if you have any advice for Jonathan Gannon, what does he have to look out for the Jaguars on the offensive side that could give the Eagles some trouble?
I think James Robinson is the biggest factor in this game. I also looked up the weather, and there may be like
Yes. Yeah.
15-mile-an-hour winds coming through.
Some
Hurricane
rain.
Ian, he's coming through the entire country, man. Like,
Yeah.
so Ian, I think, might be a big factor in terms of what they're gonna do on the ground. And I know though the Eagles have a really good like history when weather becomes a factor, and we all
The
remember
snow, wait, the
yeah,
snowball?
we all
The snow
remember the
game?
snowball, and like, but Miles Sanders, he's definitely a good running back, and so I think those two are going to be the biggest factors if weather decides to be, if weather decides to be the biggest factor, then it makes those two. But I think a lot stems from the run in the Jaguars offense. They'll run they'll run with two tight ends, two running backs, and they'll run it twice and then they'll throw to the tight ends. So there's a lot that's actually built off of the run. Uh, and so the aggression on fourth down is going to be key too, because they'll maybe run it with James Robinson,
Mhm.
and then on another fourth down they'll throw it out of the same exact personnel. So I think the success from the run game is going to directly impact how the passing game goes for the Jaguars. But I would say James Robinson is going to be the biggest. You guys will definitely want to stop him. He likes running it up the gut. So like the B gaps, I wouldn't say like necessarily the A gaps. Yeah, he
Mhm.
likes running straight behind. But at the same time, he likes to run behind a pooler. So he'll have his right guard. Brandon Sheriff, he's actually from the Commanders. He
Yeah,
was
from the
their
Commanders, I remember.
and he knows that defensive line of the Eagles. He play them twice a year for
Yeah.
how many years? Like he's been in the NFC East for a while now. So
Yeah.
I think he's going to be, James Robinson is going to be the biggest factor. And right now, the Eagles are, I think they're letting up 5.5 yards per carry for the running backs. I know that they did a really good job in the last 2 weeks against running backs, and it was
Yeah, the
really
first
DeAndre
week
Swift
really, yeah. Yeah, the
that
first week
that
killed us
that
bad.
really was, yeah, that set the average and made it a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And he's more of a speed back, so it's just like if y'all shut down the heavy backs that you face the next 2 weeks, right, and then you let the speed back get a ton of yards. James Robinson isn't too fast, like he's not like a
Mhm.
super fast back, so ETN might be getting some of those carries. So if you guys do well against those backs that are more hard nosed and things like that, then it's like, it's going to be a big question mark, how James Robinson is going to do. But he right now he is the best player, and he has been the best player for the last 2 years
Yeah.
on this Jaguars offense. So I think it's really up to him, depending on like how this offense is going to play.
Yeah, it's funny that you should mention James Robinson, because on my thumbnail, as you can see, James Robinson and to me, Miles Sanders, because tomorrow, like you just said, tomorrow will be, as far as the weather wise, the high is supposed to be 60, but the low 40s. But there are probably some showers supposed to be in there. I think that it's not going to be a through the air type of game. I think that the three-headed monsters for the Philadelphia Eagles, the Miles Sanders, the Gainwell, and the Trey Sermon, because Boston Scott is out, so Trey Sermon will get his first crack, to actually play in a game, and it's going to be against James Robinson and Travis Etienne. I really feel like this is going to be a ground game. Who could run the ball the better, and play action will feed off of that. I mean, you don't
Yeah.
always have to run the ball, but if you are consistent with running the ball, getting those chunk yards, the 4 and 5 yards per play, Play action, the tight end, Dallas Goddard. Y'all have Evan Ingram as y'all tight end. How do y'all use him? I mean, is he like what type of tight end is he more of a blocking tight end, a wide receiver tight end, a pass catching tight end? How do y'all use him in your offense?
Yeah, I would say just like Dallas Goddard, honestly, like he's more of a receiving tight end. Goddard is I would say probably a better blocker.
Yeah.
But Evan, he blocks decent, but that's why they'll run two tight end sets. And so they'll have that deception like, hey, this is a run because their other tight ends, aren't bad either. So I would say, yeah, Evan Ingram is definitely more of a pass catching tight end, and he does everything in terms of catching the ball. He goes everywhere. He goes deep. He catches short passes. He's definitely like that right hand man. He's becoming that foundation that, okay, yeah, for Trevor, like, hey, okay, I know when I throw to him, then I'm gonna be able to get a first down because generally he's shaking guys at the line of scrimmage.
So would you? All right. So a little fun fact. Well, before I'm asking you this question, if y'all didn't know that Dallas Goddard leads all tight ends in yard per catch and yards after catch. This dude is a yak machine. I do have him in my fantasy team, so I was definitely pleased to see that. And I did have him. One of my my bold predictions for this upcoming season was this. One, that Miles Sanders would have about 1,200 yard receiving, 10 touchdowns. But we'll see if he gets to that. Right now, he got one touchdown and about almost 200 yards rushing. But the past couple of weeks, teams has been saying, we're not going to let Jalen Hurts beat us with his feet. We want him to throw. So the past couple of weeks, Jalen Hurts has averaged over 300 yards per game, and he's shredding teams to, up through the air, which kind of shut down the Eagles' running game a little bit. But yeah, so definitely Dallas Goddard, he was my pick to be top 3 after the season. He will be top 3.
Yeah.
My other bold prediction was that Jalen Hurts will be in the MVP conversation. And of course, I just told you that Miles Sanders, 1,200 yards rushing, 10 touchdowns. Those were my 3 bold predictions. So far, 2 out of 3 is coming right. Dallas Goddard is definitely up there, top 3 tight end right now, and Jalen Hurts is MVP conversation.
Wasn't there something last year, the year before, like with Miles Sanders, he didn't get a touchdown run for
that was
the
last year.
Yeah, like
last
dang,
year,
like
and rushed for almost 900 yards. It was because that the coaches,
he was like the leading rusher, so it was like, what the hell?
He was, but the coaches felt like that he wasn't really hitting the holes. As soon as the holes were open, he wasn't hitting the holes right. So once we got down to the red zone, it was usually a Jordan Howard or Gainwell or Boston Scott. These guys.
Boston Scott has been he was doing pretty good in the red zone. And then I actually said that Kenneth Gainwell, I made like a bold prediction that Kenneth Gainwell would be the one to kind of take those red zone touchdowns, and he did. Like those first 2 weeks, I think he got 1 or 2. So I was pretty excited that I made that Kenneth Gainwell would be that guy. I even wrote an article on that, so I'm glad that happened.
Yeah. So far, all 3 of our running backs have TDs from week 1. Gainwell, Boston Scott, and Miles Sanders. So, hey, we'll see. We'll see how long that lasts, right? But we'll see. But definitely, so what matchups, all right, heading into this game, what matchups are you looking to watching closely? Offensive line versus defensive line, your wide receiver versus RDBs, and vice versa. Like the quarterback plays, like what match, even the coaching will come into this game to play into this game. So what matchups are you looking forward to the most tomorrow?
So I'm really looking forward to the Jaguars have a brand new rookie linebacker, Devin Lloyd.
Devin Lloyd, my guy. That's who I wanted the Eagles to draft, by the way. We
So
needed linebackers at the time.
I had them. I mocked Devin going to the Eagles too, which was funny. But then Devin or Nakobe Dean ended up dropping, so they ended up getting him. But and people made fun of me. They were like, "Eagles getting a linebacker? That never happens." Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then they ended up getting Devin Lloyd. And I was like, "Yeah, shut up." But yeah, Devin Lloyd. I think they should put a spy obviously on Hurts. So I'm gonna be excited to see if Devin's gonna be that guy to kind of follow him around. If he's gonna be blitzing and all, or if Foye Oluokun is gonna be that blitzer. He's another linebacker that the Jaguars got this offseason. He was the leading tackler from the entire league last year. He was on the Atlanta Falcons, and now he's on the Jaguars. So this guy knows how to tackle. And I think the linebackers versus Jalen Hurts. Obviously, the defensive line getting pressure on Jalen Hurts is important. But I think the matchup is more about the linebackers versus Jalen Hurts. Are they going to let him run? Are they going to blitz him? Or are they going to drop back more in coverage? I do not want them to drop back more in coverage. I want them to blitz Hurts. Because
what? Blitz Hurts?
Yes, I am so tired.
Did you watch the Lions game?
Yeah, but the Lions their personnel isn't as good as the Jaguars personnel. So, but what I hate seeing is letting Hurts and Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, those three, like if you don't pressure Hurts, then you're basically giving those wide receivers a chance to catch the ball. Like,
absolutely.
No, you need to force Hurts to throw it and put them wide receivers in bad situations. Right now, they're in good situation. They're making amazing contested catches.
Moss all over the field.
You can't do that. And if you remember last year when they played the Bucs, man, they shut Hurts down.
They did.
And who is the linebackers coach? Who was the linebackers coach then? Mike Caldwell. And that's their defensive coordinator. The Jaguars defensive coordinator is the guy who made the game plan to shut Hurts down last year. He beat them twice, and they basically made Hurts run out of the pocket, run to the left, and they had those athletic linebackers that could crash when it runs out of the pocket. Yep. And they had the safeties that would come down and clean up the play, basically. And they just tried to cover the wide receivers the best that they could. Now the Eagles do have AJ Brown, so it's obviously a lot different. Adding that other wide receiver is a big factor. That makes it a lot harder to shut down just Goddard and Devontae. Now they have to freaking worry about AJ Brown. So it's definitely
Batman, swole Batman. Put some respect on his name. He's swole Batman.
So it's just like that's obviously a tougher job, but Mike Caldwell did a pretty good job against Hurts last year. So I think that's going to be more of the factor. I'm tired of teams letting Jalen use he's going to have to beat us with his arm. He's done that. So why do you keep saying it? Like, he's done it already. Like, what more does he
back-to-back weeks?
Exactly. Why does he need to prove to everybody again? Like, no, stop letting him beat you with his arm, because he's going to do it. Like, let him beat you with his legs if he's going to have to do that, because he's going to get smacked on the sideline again and again and again. If he doesn't want to have to do that every play, then he's going to have to start throwing it away. And I think that is more, I guess this is a bold prediction or something, or a bold strategy. But like, I'm tired of him I'm not tired of it, because I like to see him light up defenses. But I don't think that's a good game plan to let Hurts beat you with his arm, because he's shown that he can do it.
Yeah, this is the perfect one right here. What have you seen from Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Hurts? You just said it. Last year, teams wasn't afraid of Jalen Hurts' arm. He was a running back quarterback. I mean, basically, he was more of a running back than a quarterback. He put the work in this offseason, training with Tom Brady, just picking his brain along with some other coaches. And now you have seen the first game, we wasn't ready for that ferocious Detroit Lion rush. I mean, their defensive front was getting to Jalen Hurts, but thank God that Jalen Hurts, his running ability to escape the pocket and not sit back there, like a lame duck. He almost had 100 yards rushing that game. He finished, I think, with 90. But it's funny how you say, hey, you would blitz Hurts, because a lot of teams right now are saying, hey, let Hurts cook, basically. Let him sit back there and let him read defenses. So what have you seen from last year for both quarterbacks?
Yeah, so I think I think the cornerbacks from the Jags, um, you know, they're having a little bit of trouble against those number one wide receivers. That's my main concern. And Hertz likes to let it go. He's now trusting his wide receivers instead of just evading the pocket. So that was a big difference from last year to this year. Is
Mm-hmm.
trust for Jalen Hurts. Um, Now, it's the complete opposite with Trevor. Trevor Lawrence was trusting his wide receivers so much that he was just throwing it up there, and they were dropping them. They were getting intercepted because, there it was like double covered or triple covered, and he was just
Mm-hmm.
taking a chance. But now he's more methodical with his choices, and he's taking that first read when he has to. And if he's not taking the first read, then he's sitting in the pocket. He's remaining poised, and he's sometimes even going to his third read. So I think it's like complete opposite sides of the spectrum, and both quarterbacks have showed growth in those areas.
Absolutely. And it helps to have coaches that, that play towards your strength, and coaches that believe in you. And
Yeah, Jalen Hurts didn't have a coach that was with him for more than a 1 year, I think,
yeah,
right? Like he
yeah,
was at
one
Alabama,
year.
and then he was at Oklahoma, and
The
then the
offensive
Eagles.
coordinators are
Yeah,
always changing. So he
Patriots,
so he
Patriots,
wasn't never, yeah.
yeah,
So he was never, able to learn a playbook back to back years from the same offensive coordinator since high school. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So, but now, his second full year under Nick Sirianni, under Shane Steichen, and look, I love it, man. Who would have thought after 3 games that Jalen Hurts would be NFC Player of the Month? Like, I mean, that's ridiculous. This dude has thrown for 916 yards, rushed for 167, had 4 TDs. I mean, this dude is a top 2 candidate for MVP right now, besides Lamar Jackson. Like, honest shoes. Who would have thought that? Besides some of the Eagle fans, or all the Eagle fans. Now, I'm not going to say all, bump that. Some of the Eagle fans was on the Hurts wagon, and a lot of them was not. A lot of them just wanted Minshew, Carson Wentz, whatever it is. But look, it's looking good for both
Minshew.
organizations. Minshew, hey, great backup, by the way, great backup. But
Yeah.
hopefully he stays the backup. So we're about to trying to wrap it up a little bit. So give me your 3 keys to victory. If the Jags could pull this off, what would have to go right for the Jags and the Jags only?
I think they need at least 2 interceptions, man. Honestly, I
Turnovers.
think I think to slow the momentum down, for the Eagles, because once they get going, they're really hard to stop. So I think pressure is going to be the key, and the pressure is going to maybe lead to errant throws, or maybe taking a chance, and the Jaguars will try to convert on that. So I think the turnovers, and right now the Jaguars are number one in turnover differential. They're sitting at the top of the league. Even
Wow.
Trayvon
Okay.
Walker, the outside linebacker, defensive end,
Mm-hmm.
he has an interception against Carson Wentz. So that was pretty awesome when he was able to pick him off. So yeah, pressure is definitely the first one. Um, and let me just go back to that real quick. I could say, shutting down Devontae Smith or AJ Brown, but it's not going to happen. Like, it's really hard to shut those guys down because of how good they are in their separate skill sets. You know, tackling. I think right now the Eagles are fifth in the league in yards after the catch, fourth or fifth.
Mm-hmm.
So AJ Brown can certainly run after the catch. Devontae Smith is hard to shut down just because of his pure running route ability, route running ability. So it's hard to shut those guys down. You can double team them and everything, but it only goes so far if you're able to pressure the quarterback so he doesn't throw to them. You know what I mean? So like, obviously, yeah, all of that would lead to shutting those two guys down. So yeah, pressure would be number one. The second key to victory would be James Robinson just being able to move the chains. If he can, average 4 per carry, that would be amazing. That would be fantastic. That could, lead like to their win. If they were to pull this one out. I am not sure if like I could say, James Robinson or ETN. But I think James Robinson has a better chance of doing it. But if ETN happens to be the guy, this would be his breakout game because he hasn't even gotten like 50 yards total rushing in a single game yet. He's taken a lot of he's catching a lot out of the backfield too, so he's not that pure rusher or that pure rusher. So yeah, first one obviously pressuring the quarterback, getting those turnovers, and then James Robinson. And the third it's a little bit different. But I'm gonna say special teams, man. And it's only because
I
the
like it.
Eagles right now, their special teams, man, they're sitting at the bottom of the league. I
Yes,
think
I agree.
28th overall in kicking and punting, that's returning and
Yeah.
defending. Yeah, right now I think special teams is going to be a big part of the game. The Jaguars have been able to pin their opponents within their 10-yard line. I think there was only 4 drives where the team started after their 30-yard line. So there was only, 3 or 4 times where they had good position to start the game. So I think the Jaguars are doing well in the special teams, pinning their teams and by their own end zone, and making them travel quite a bit in order to get into the red zone. So
Look, I love it. I love those keys. And it's funny that your first key is turnovers because both the Eagles and the Jags
yeah.
are like basically tied for number one. It's Jacksonville, Cleveland, Arizona, and Philly tied
Oh,
for
nice.
0.3 turnovers, least amount of turnovers so far in 3 games. So Jacksonville is number one. They don't turn the ball over. The Eagles don't turn the ball over. So that will be my first key also. Pressure Trevor Lawrence, make him throw the ball fast, jump the routes a little bit because I've heard, the past couple of games he releases the ball fast. So mainly he is set on his wide receiver being open and he's
Yeah.
throwing it. And so that is going to be a big key for big play slate, James Bradbury to jump these routes a little bit, trusting that you had safety help with CD Deuce and Marcus Epps, one of the best safeties in the league right now. So definitely pressuring Trevor Lawrence and getting those turnovers. The second one, you have to establish a run game. The past couple of games, I know teams have solely focused on we need to stop the Eagles' run game. We need to stop, well, not the Eagles' run game. We need to stop Jalen Hurts from beating us with his legs. And that comes with stopping the whole, Eagles' run game. I've been a little disappointed with the way the Eagles have been running the ball the past couple of games. But I feel like with the weather, being at home, look, this is going to be a grind out game to me.
Yeah, trenches.
Yeah, in the trenches, who could establish, who could keep the other offense on the sideline will win this game. So definitely establish a run game with your 3-headed monster. Matter of fact, 4-headed monsters if you throw Jalen Hurts in there as part of your running game, which it should be. And the last one is special teams. Like our special teams is horrendous. Like I was at the Washington Commanders game. We couldn't. Our blocking is non-existent. As soon Kobe had the
This
ball,
guy was
he
getting
was getting
demolished
demolished. He was getting on it. I'm like, oh my!
every
And you
play.
can
I was
hear
like,
it.
I'm surprised he was hanging on to the ball. I was like,
He
holy crap.
fumbled once, but he recovered it. But still, I mean, our blocking, and I'm shocked because I've never seen this special team this bad, the past few years. But our special teams, it needs to improve. Come on now. If this is about to go into game 4, you have enough tape to see what is going on. What are we not doing right? When the ball is being punted, what are we not getting back and blocking for these guys? At least give them a chance because field position is going to be a big key in this game because of the weather. It's not going to be sunny. So, hey, we'll see what happens. But definitely special teams, pressuring Trevor Lawrence, turnovers, and the Eagles had to establish a run game because with that comes play action, Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, quick screens. If you are running the ball efficiently, you can't do play action if you're not running the ball. Ain't nobody going to go for it. Like, nobody going to stop. Go get him,
Yeah, like, come on, don't play with us.
Like stop playing,
Yeah,
But definitely,
we know you're throwing it.
Yeah, exactly. We're throwing it. So, but this game, I can't wait. But all right, this is the time. I know you're a Jags fan and your mama Eagles fan. So, who wins and what is your score prediction?
Man, this is such a tough one. Like, I don't even like saying who's gonna win. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's like, man, if I could see the future, look, trust me, I wouldn't be doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I don't know. It's tough. Like, I think it may be a little bit of a trap game for the Eagles. To be honest, like, they are 3-0 right now. This is the best team that they're gonna see, or pretty much that they're going to see for the next 10 weeks. Like, they don't, the Eagles don't even have they have one of the easiest schedules from here on out. Like, I'm not even playing with you, man.
We still got to play the Packers. We still got to play.
Yeah, not until like week 13, though.
But we still got to play the Cowboys. It's a division.
Yeah, the Cowboys and that's it. Right now, the Cardinals they're not doing nothing. The Steelers,
I think that's our trap game, actually. I really think that the Cardinals is the Eagles' trap game because the week before we face Dallas, and the week before we face Dallas, but I'm going to tell you my prediction. Eagles will win. So now you got 4-0, trap game, Dallas. I think that is our trap game, but I really want to hear your score prediction.
I think you guys bounce back next week and beat the Cardinals after you lose to the Jaguars. I don't know, man. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. I think the Eagles have such good components. They have one of the best wide receiver core. They have one of the best cornerback core. But I think right now with that nickel being gone, it's going to be a little bit of a worry, right? So Maddox isn't going to be there. So when you have James Bradbury running zone, he's fantastic. But what if somebody motions and puts him in man? All they got to do is run a double move and he's burnt toast, my man.
But see, I don't know. Look at the screen right now. Look. You see the screen right now? It says lowest passer rating allowed. We got 2 out of the top 4.
Yeah,
Bradbury and Slay. So, I mean, I don't know about this. I think there are veterans that they know, hey, this might be coming. They know how to study tape. They know that the double move might be in play. But we do have 2 safeties back there, CD Deuce and Marcus Epps. So far, we haven't been beat.
Are they going to be back there, though?
Yes.
Because who's going to come in the slot?
I think Josiah Scott will be in the slot. He might play the slot corner because I would not mess with two positions, especially just going into this game. I mean, Josiah Scott, he's big enough to play the slot corner. He's physical enough, and he will have help. Of course, he will have help with the linebackers. I think that one linebacker might be underneath because the Eagles don't blitz a lot. So they do not, as a matter of fact, last week, those 9 sacks, they only had 5 rushing one time. Those 9 sacks came with 8 out of those 9 sacks came with a 4-man rush. They faked the cover 0, and then they hurried up and dropped everybody back. And that's what was confusing Carson Wentz. That's how they was able to get the 9 sacks. So I think that even with Avonte Maddox being out, I would still leave Gardner back there with Marcus Epps and start Josiah Scott in the slot and just give him help a little bit over the top. So that's what I'm saying. But Bradbury and Slay, they're locking it down.
I know,
You're
I
locking
know.
it down.
They are. I just, I did an article on Bradbury when he was on the Giants, and when he is stuck in man, it's not good. So whoever's coming in for that slot, that zone defense has to be running like a well-oiled machine, because
Absolutely.
if they have to motion, if there's a motion and it makes them get out of that and they have to go to man, there could be some trouble there. If maybe Kirk is lined up with Bradbury, but I'm telling you, in zone, they're locked down. Um, that nickel corner being out though, it does worry me a little bit.
Yeah.
And like, let's just say Hassan Reddick has to drop back in the coverage. They should just let him rush the quarterback. So maybe Doug
Absolutely.
Pederson will pull something out to make him have to drop back into coverage. Maybe some screens will have to make the defensive end cover the flat a little bit more.
Mhm.
And then that'll make everybody else step up. And then you leave Bradbury one-on-one against Kirk when he's in man, after they've been biting on the screens over and over, after they've been, James Robinson has been churning those feet. It's like, is it going to be a grind until there's that one play? So
Yeah.
this game is going to be so exciting. It's going to tell us so much about the Eagles. Are they that real deal? They haven't faced a real team, blah blah blah. Like, I think they're going to shut those critics down, and I think the Jags, the
A
last
big
2 weeks,
win if they do win.
yeah, like they completely shut down the Chargers. Yeah, they didn't have Keenan Allen.
Absolutely. Doesn't
For the
matter.
Colts, yeah, they didn't have Michael Pittman. So it's
That
just like,
doesn't matter.
it's I know, but it's like, it's always like, listen, do they beat those teams as bad? Do they still win? I say yes. But do they beat them as bad? Is it more of like a battle into the fourth quarter? Because so far Trevor Lawrence hasn't played that well, and when he's had to come back in the fourth quarter. And Jalen Hurts, he's only had, I think, a handful of throws where he's been throwing when he was behind. Neither of these teams have had to deal with coming back.
Absolutely.
So I think it's going to tell a lot about both these squads.
Absolutely. And this is a good point right here. Last week, y'all beat the Chargers. Do you think that these guys are riding too high? I mean, are they like, oh my God, we beat the Chargers, we blew them out. Now, because this might be a trap game for them going to Philly, after beating the Chargers.
That is a good point. I've thought about that, because it's like, when was the last time the Jags were 2-1? But this also isn't the same team. They still do have a loss under their belt, and the loss, that team got murdered by the Eagles. So it's like they still do have a loss. And then you can look at it on the other hand, where it's like, in the power rankings, yeah, they're moving up, but they're still like behind a couple of these teams. So they should kind of see it as a little disrespectful. They demolished the Chargers, and then they shut out the Colts. They should be higher up on those power rankings. So
Mhm.
that is a good point. Coming off of two back-to-back wins with 20 points or more, you could see that as a little bit of a trap. Absolutely. But I think if they dive deep into it, and if the coaches do a good job to say, hey guys, you're still not being respected in the power rankings, like, nobody really cares
Absolutely.
about us, then they can kind of internalize that, and hopefully, they won't see it as a trap game. So yeah, I'm more excited about the ovation for Doug Peterson though. You got to be excited for
Yeah. Yeah.
what's going to
Yeah.
happen when he
What?
comes out the tunnel. I hope that he just gets so much love, and then they as soon as the kickoff comes, or
They start
F
booing
you
them. Yeah,
Peterson,
yep.
you suck,
I
bro.
agree. I agree. I think the Philadelphia Eagle fans have got, last week they had a lot of boos come out for Carson Wentz. I think this week is the opposite. Doug
Hmm.
Pearson didn't do nothing bad to us. He did not want to leave Philly, unlike Carson Wentz. He wanted to leave Philly. Doug Pearson, brought our first Super Bowl. I don't care that he's on the other sideline. At least before the game starts, give him his flowers, stand up, Clap it up for him if they do announce him and show him on the big screen TV. Just show him love. Make him a little emotional so he can't see his play card like this. I can't see my play card right now. You know what I mean? Let's make Doug Pederson emotional so he can't call the plays the right way, and we go over there and smack them in the mouth the first quarter and put this game out.
and to counter that, Brandon Graham, he might be up in his feelings seeing Doug Pederson for the first time in a while. And he's not gonna get the dog in him. Him and Fletcher Cox are gonna be.
He got a little puppy.
My boy Doug Pederson.
Oh man, hey, shout out to you, Lori, man. Thank you very much for coming on. Hey, if you're not following her on Twitter, I'm telling you right now, go follow her on Twitter. Her Twitter handle is right there on the screen, and also she breaks down all 22 at the NFL Wire and at what is that Clip Jaw?
Yeah,
go ahead, talk about them.
Clip Draw, I just use basically the illustration on my videos. I'll, use the arrows to showing the route runnings and things like that. It's just a program that I use. Anybody that breaks down film, if you happen to be watching this, go download Clip Draw. They have a 30-day trial. Also hit me up if you like it, because then I got a coupon code for you. But yeah, you guys can catch me on Twitter, but I write for USA Today, and that's the Touchdown Wire. So touchdownwire.usatoday.com. And that's where you can find all of my pieces. I write about every team in the NFL. But I grew up in South Jersey, so there's a little bit of that, bleed green type of, feeling. My mom always be trying to get me to cheer for the Eagles and everything. But the Jaguar fans really got me started. Just because, I really followed them for a long time, started posting their videos. And if it wasn't for the Jaguar fans, I really wouldn't be where I am today. But I am working my way up, covering all the teams. So definitely catch me on there. You can hit me up anytime, and I'll write an article on whatever you guys want to read about. So
yes. And she's good. And she's really, really good. She really breaks down. She's non-biased. Trust me, you want to read what she be writing about, because I follow her all the time. I'm always tweeting or retweeting. So if you're not following me on Twitter, just go follow me on Twitter, JC Sports Talk 20, because the Sports Talk was taken. But in tribute to my guy, Brian Dawkins, 20 was available. So I got 20 going on. X-Man, that's what I'm talking
about. From Jacksonville.
Yeah.
See, I'm telling you. They're parallel, bro.
These are intertwined, huh? These are meant to be. But yeah, so if you're a Jags fan, Eagles fan, you cannot watch the game tomorrow, especially in some areas. They only play the local channels. I do play-by-play every Sunday for that reason. So tomorrow I will be doing Jags versus Eagles play-by-play. No, I can't show the game, but I would definitely, if you have not been tuned in to my play-by-play, I give you up to the millisecond what's going on, every first down, every yard, who's carrying, who's throwing, who's doing what. So you definitely want to tune in tomorrow. Just please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. And look, this is it. Week 4, big game, Jags versus Eagles. Both teams after this week, either way, will get their respect, will get their flowers. And I have the Jags winning the AFC South and Eagles winning the NFC East. Anything else that happens after that, I don't know, but I'm hoping to see the Jags, especially Dougie P, somewhere in the playoffs, either this year or next year or the near future. But as always, man, go Birds, man. Appreciate all y'all support. Later.